Hey guys, welcome to another Quarantine School Special Edition episode. This one we're going to talk about career research. So right now this video is geared towards my 8th graders. Every year I give my 8th graders some coaching on what to do when you're thinking about high school and your career and moving on into the real world and being grown-ups. And right now you're thinking about, what do I want to do with my life? You've got your social goals, you've got your relationship goals, you've got your personal learning how to dance goals, or maybe you've got career goals, and that's where we're talking about today, your career goals. What do you want to do to make money, to pay for your bills, to achieve those dreams? And you've got to approach that in two different ways. There's what do I want to do that I would enjoy, and what do I want to do that would actually pay me money? And hopefully you find a balance between the two of those. That is your goal. All right, so a lot of times people approach this with two different questions. They say, which job pays the most? Because obviously I want the job that pays the most. And then, which job will I enjoy the most? Because I want to do what I enjoy. So if you could do what you enjoy the most and get paid the most for it, that would be like the best of both worlds. But I'm not sure that happens very often. All right, but there's more to consider. Not just what it pays or how much you enjoy it, but also how much time will it take to get to that destination? For example, is it going to take you 2 years of college, 4 years of college, 8 years? Is it going to be something you can start tomorrow, right? That may be something that's a factor. How many hours a week will you need to work? Are you somebody who has other goals, other priorities, and you don't want to have to work more than 25 hours a week or 40 hours a week, or you don't want to have to sleep at your desk and live your job? That's something you need to consider. Also, how do you feel about travel? Now, this is, of course, changing with quarantine because we have new perspectives on what jobs require travel, but some jobs require a great deal of travel, and for some people that's a good thing. For other people, that's a bad thing. It limits the amount of time that they're able to spend with their family, developing other relationships and maintaining those relationships. But maybe you're an isolated person, and you like it that way, and you're happy to travel, and it really depends on your personality, and your personality can change. But right now you're figuring this out, and that's why we're doing research and we're exploring it. So here's my challenge to you. I'm going to give you some resources today, and I want you to do some research. I want you to research 3 different professions. If you want to go and do 14 different professions, you can. But at least 3 different professions, and you're going to find out a little bit more about them. Because there is a whole world of different jobs out there that I guarantee you've never even heard of. We all grow up and we're thinking there's the doctor, the lawyer, the policeman, the fire chief, and you just don't know what other jobs there are. You might talk to your brother, your sister, your family members, and what kind of jobs they have. But even I'm amazed at how many kids they have parents and they don't understand what their parents do for a living. Sometimes these jobs are difficult to explain, but you might know that your dad is in the medical profession, but what does he actually do? Is he a surgeon? Is he a surgeon that cuts out tumors? Is he a surgeon that repairs things? Is he a surgeon that makes things better? Is he a surgeon that is working for traumatic injuries? Is he working for long-term conditions? I mean, even within a single field, there is a lot of range of what you can do. All right, so research 3 possible occupations so that you can compare them. They could be all in the same field, like say you want to do something with plumbing. You could do household plumbing repair. You could do commercial plumbing installations, working on, plumbing for the new mall. Or you could do plumbing sales. You're the person that's actually selling the plumbing supplies to the people that do the installations. 3 wildly different ways of approaching the same industry. Also, you could have just completely different jobs. You could be, I want to be an astronomer, I want to build shoes, and I want to alphabetize the phone book. Well, okay, that's probably a bad choice. We don't do that. Okay. Some people are really interested in veterinary medicine, but then they realize to be a vet that they have to do many years of schooling. So maybe they go a different route. They could go with vet tech. They could go with sales, administrative support. You could still be part of that community, that occupation, that profession, even if you aren't directly doing that particular job that for whatever reason you decided isn't for you. So explore the full range. I'm going to attach a spreadsheet that will give you some ideas of things to fill out as you do your research. This is just for you. You don't need to turn it in. You're just using it to explore your job options. Compare at least 3 occupations, and you'll find that you narrow it down to one job that you really like right now, but really the times have passed where people took one job for the rest of their life. It used to be in some communities you would get a job at the factory, and that was the same factory your dad worked at and his dad worked at, and you would work there for the rest of your life. Right now we're in a job community where a lot of people will have multiple jobs over the course of their lifetime, which is a good thing for you. That means that you get to choose, and maybe I'll start off doing this for a little while and then I'll try that for a little while. Or that job might change and then you change with it. Or maybe you change as a person and you decide that there's something that better suits you and you move on to that other thing. A lot of things are changing, jobs are changing. You're going to be in probably several jobs over the course of your life, even within the same field. I personally, I've had like 21 jobs, I think, at least. I mean, if you talk about what specific tasks I've had within a job, I've had even more. But that's me. I probably have a few more than most people, but that's going to be up to you, what you do with your life, what jobs you pursue. All right, so here are the details that you're going to be looking up. You're going to look up the career choice, the specialty within that career choice, the job description, the responsibilities of that job, what skills are needed for that job, what required education is necessary to get you into that job, the working hours for that job, and the annual earnings, how much money you're going to make for that job. For example, you want to be a lumberjack. Well, let's call it a logger, right? You want to cut down trees, or you want to be out in the woods. For whatever reason, you like trees, you're going to be part of this. Narrow down your choice. What kind of logger do you want to be? Do you want to be a logger for pine trees? Do you want to be a logger that is cutting them down from a farm? Do you want to be a logger that's getting them from the wilderness? Do you want to be one that is digging up trees that are at the bottom of a river? I mean, these are all different types of logging, and one or the other may be more interesting to you. Then, actually, I was looking into this. There's like 3 specific categories of logging, and I had no idea. But again, this is why we do research. If you look into this, you can find out what type of research, what type of jobs there are within that field that you're interested in. The type of logger is the specialty, and then list that separately so you can compare. Maybe you do the 3 different types of loggers. Next is the job description. So what would you be expected to do on a daily basis? Would you be swinging an axe or operating machinery? Would you be the person who's out scouting the territory, figuring out what trees need to be felled? Do you need to be the grader who is inspecting the lumber at the end of the day and deciding what lumber is at what level of quality, right? And then look over what kind of skills you need. So what's required to be learned before you can perform the job? This overlaps with education a little bit, but not necessarily. So some of the stuff you can learn on the job, but some of the stuff you may need to go to school for. So if you have required education for a job, and some jobs require that, they'll say you have to have a bachelor's degree in this field before you can have the job, or you have to have a master's or a PhD or something like that before you can have the job. That's going to be something that determines your career path, because it may mean that you can't get into that job right away, and then you start planning for that now. For some jobs, you're going to spend nearly 10 years in school after high school. For other jobs, you can get on-the-job training and start right away. Working hours, that's the next one. This is big. Working hours are how many hours a day you work, how many hours a week you work, and how many hours or days a year you work. And depending on the job, this can vary a lot. There are jobs that are consistent, reliable working hours that you know you're going to work 8 hours a day, every day for most of the year with like a 2-week vacation. But then there are other jobs where you're working 10 hours a day for 4 months of the year, but then you don't have any work for several months because it's seasonal work. So look into that. Like logging is one of those things that while it's rainy or snowy or really bad weather, you're not going to be working on cutting down trees. You're going to be off work. Fishing seasons are a similar situation. Harvesting, farming, there's going to be surge times. If you're working in taxes, there's going to be times that are really heavy with a lot of work to do, and then there are other times where it's kind of quiet. Look into the working hours for that. Also, if the working hours mean that you're going to be out of work for a few months of the year, then you might need to budget for that. You might need to figure out that, all right, well, I'm being paid this much per hour for these many days. I need to save some of that for the time when I won't have any income. And budgeting is a skill that not everybody has. You want to work on that. Also, you might want to get another job during that off season. Pick a second career that you have when the first career isn't providing the hours and the money that you need. Some things to consider. Jobs are changing in the future. Jobs are always changing, and it is really difficult. Everyone is always trying to tell graduating seniors, look, the career you want to go into now is computer programming. Computers are huge. You need to learn how to code a computer. And 10 years ago, people were telling you that, and computer science is phenomenal, and it's definitely a necessary field, but it doesn't always play out that the computer coding you learned 10 years ago when you were getting ready for this field gave you a job that you needed today. Things change, but doesn't mean we don't try. We're always trying to figure out what is going to be the big changes coming up the road. So some things to think about. Truck driving industry. If you're interested in being a truck driver, and we need truck drivers, we need people to get things from point A to point B, we're bracing for a change on that. With self-driving cars, there is talk that there will be a less need for truck drivers. So you might have one truck driver who's managing several vehicles, or you would have less truck drivers needed because the vehicles are driving themselves. I don't know how that's going to play out, and nobody really does, but that's something to keep in mind as you look at the future. Automotive industry, same thing with electric cars. If you're learning how to repair a 57 Chevy, that might not help if you're trying to also work in an auto shop that needs to be able to repair an electric car that came out in 2020. And there's different types of electric cars, so that requires some knowledge of the different types of cars as well as the technology that goes with them, which is more and more computer based, which means that you need some computer knowledge for some of those repairs. Also, consider the quarantine. All right, we're doing a lot more distance learning, a lot of more distance working than ever before in the history of civilization. This is going to change, and we just don't even know how it's going to change. When we come out of this quarantine, we're expecting, a lot of people are talking that a lot of these jobs that used to be done, well, you have to go into the office every day, they won't be done from the office anymore because they'll figure out a way that you can do this more at home. That may mean that you have an easier commute and you have more time with your family. It may also mean that you have time at home where you can't get away from work and you effectively end up having longer hours because you are not fixed to the 8 to 5 office schedule that you were used to. Hopefully you're getting some questions in your head, things that you're interested in, ideas. Browse the websites I'm giving you. The Department of Labor has a lot of resources just to look up what does a certain job pay. You could scroll through the list of jobs and say, oh, I've never heard of that kind of job. I wonder what that is. You click on it and you learn more about it. Use these resources, come up with some ideas. I hope you're having fun with it. And tomorrow we will talk about a little bit more about how to get a job. We'll talk about resumes, we'll talk about interviews, and we might talk a little bit about the jobs that I've had. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.